What's up, everyone? It's almost November, and you know what that means. It's Halloween time. So I got to thinking, what were a few of the scariest shows that I watched as a kid? And the two shows I narrowed it down to were Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? After Googling the best episodes of each show, I sat down and started watching the top 3 scariest Goosebumps episodes. And after rewatching a few episodes, I came to the conclusion that Goosebumps is in fact not very scary. I mean, yeah, some of the episodes are a little more intense than others, like the Haunted Mask episode for example, but I figured I'd give Are You Afraid of the Dark a few watches and compare the two. I started with The Tale of the Crimson Clown, which was already insanely good and probably better than anything I watched with the Goosebumps, and then I went on The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner, also very good, this man is terrifying, and finally I ended with The Tale of the Midnight Madness. I personally thought that Are You Afraid of the Dark was way more interesting and spooky, so I kept digging through episodes to make the video on, and I think I found the perfect one. This is The Tale of the Dead Man's Float. The episode starts how it always does, with the Midnight Society sitting at the campfire. They've recently lost one of their members, Frank. Tucker comes along with a possible new replacement member, a kid apparently named Twig. Another member named Kiki clearly has had problems with this guy because she says, anybody but Twig, and then just calls him a virus.
Hi, babe.
No. Anyone but Stig.
You know this guy?
Yeah, he's a virus.
Twig wants to prove himself worthy of the group, and he swears he'll tell the best story. The story starts with a flashback to 1954. Where we see a young boy jumping into a swimming pool and a lifeguard just walks off and starts making out with some girl in another room. We see something pull the boy under the water, and then the story slowly fades to current day. This is where we meet our main character Zeke, the geeky science kid who just can't seem to get anything right. Besides science, he's also interested in a girl named Clarice in his class. Yeah, Clarice the swimmer and Zeke the geek. Not a lot of thought went into this one. He goes to tell Clarice that he'd like to show her something and to meet him in the gym tomorrow. Flash forward, we're at the boys' locker room. Zeke somehow managed to figure out that behind these lockers there was just this big empty room with a pool in it. Presumably it's the pool from the beginning. Clarice, being impressed by the giant empty room, vows to get the pool reopened. The camera slowly fades over to the janitor, who looks over at a strange bubbling in the old pool, and then the music picks up and we fast forward a few weeks later. We see Clarice and her friend swimming in the newly reopened pool. I'm not sure how a child convinced the school just to reopen this pool, and how they did all of this in just a few weeks is crazy, but hey, good for them. They smell this weird smell that they later describe to smell like chemicals, but they just brush it off like it's the old pipes. We get this cool scene that looks like it came straight from a Jaws movie, with the underwater camera just slowly getting closer and closer. Later in class, Zeke offers to tutor Clarice because if she fails chemistry, she gets kicked out of the swim team, and all Zeke wants in return is swimming lessons.
Maybe I could tutor you. Chemistry is kind of my subject.
What's in it for you?
Clarice stole the keys to the swimming pool, and they think the middle of the night is apparently the best time for swimming lessons. Zeke starts to tell Clarice the weird story of why he's scared of pools. He says when he was a kid, he went swimming in a pond with his brother, and his foot got stuck on some plants. His brother saved him, so now he thinks he cheated death, and he has this weird feeling that something's waiting to get a second chance at him. So at first I was like, wow, that's a terrible story, but then I thought about it. There actually is something waiting for him under the water. So that's kind of weird. How the f did he know that? And of course, as soon as she's done telling the story, Clarice is pulled underwater by her annoying friend Greta, who is clearly jealous of the two of them hanging out. She storms out, and thankfully we never see her again. We go back to Clarice telling Zeke there's nothing in the water, but when he puts his hand in the water, they smell a funny smell again, and then he's pulled under. Zeke jumps back onto the raft, but he's basically told he's crazy by Clarice.
Something grabbed me. It tried to drown me.
What? There's nobody down there.
I'm telling you, it grabbed me.
Do you think maybe it was just because of your fear?
Bro, are you serious right now, bro?
The raft that they're on starts shaking and then stops before it's flipped over. They're saved by the janitor Charlie. It cuts to a scene where Charlie explains that he was a lifeguard when the pool first opened, and his girlfriend's little brother was pulled under the water and drowned by something in the pool. He says it took 3 more kids drowning for them to believe him and shut down the pool. He says when they built the pool, they had to get rid of an old cemetery and move the bodies. He figured that they missed a body and the spirit wants revenge for being disturbed.
Nobody believed me.
until 3 more people drowned. They closed down the pool. People forgot all about it. Until now.
But don't worry, Zeke the Geek has a plan. He says nobody believes in it because nobody can see it, and he has an idea to throw this chemical in the water and make it visible. They have no plan for what they'll do if this works, but I mean, I guess at least they'll be able to see it, I guess. They throw a chemical called methyl orange in the water and it starts to take shape. This horrifyingly bloody-looking, skin-sagging skeleton monster jumps out and grabs Zeke. And this right here is why this was voted one of the scariest episodes of the series. This is quite possibly the scariest looking monster that has ever appeared on a kid's show, let alone Nickelodeon. So Zeke just kinda stares at it before Charlie and Clarice pull him back. Now if that thing would have popped up in my face, I would have either A, took off running immediately, or I would have died. There's really no in between. Zeke swings at it with a pole, but it just goes right through the monster. Or at least I think it does. He runs back to the locker room and Charlie's frozen in shock. The drains start to bubble and the monster pops up behind them. They ditch old man Charlie in the locker room and then figure out a plan to stop this thing. We get a callback to the beginning of the episode, with Clarice remembering that Zeke mixed water with magnite, which caused the volcano to explode. Clarice touches the lid and then Zeke assaults her basically and smacks it out of her hand. Apparently you're supposed to be wearing gloves when you use it, but my guy didn't need to be so aggressive.
My volcano. That's brilliant. No.
She jumps in after it, and Zeke sees a red slime going back into the pool. The monster pops up, and then Clarice just kind of looks at it. Zeke jumps in the pool to distract the monster, and that gives Clarice just enough time to get everything ready while Charlie comes back just in time to pull Zeke out of the water. The horrifyingly bloody skin-sagging skeleton monster dissolves away into the water. Charlie starts to get emotional, and then the story ends.
Finally, after all these years, it's over. Thank you, kids. Thank you.
Okay, well that's where it should have ended, but we get this weird scene showing that Zeke got the girl at the end, but I'm not fully convinced he really wanted the girl considering he basically kicks her off the raft just to finish his book. But hey man, whatever floats his boat, I guess.
You wanna go for a swim?
Sure.
Though Zeke still didn't care much for water.
And then like every episode, we end up back at the campfire. Twig ends up not making the cut to join the Midnight Society, but they do tell him they liked his story and they invite him back for another chance. But of course, that's only if he isn't a total puke. There's something I find super creepy about swimming pools, especially at night. I always had that irrational fear that I would jump into a swimming pool and there'd be like a shark waiting for me, or I would go under the water and then there'd be like a glass barrier that would stop me from going up to get air. I don't know if a lot of kids had that, but I definitely did. So the creators really knew what they were doing with this episode. And not to mention, what an iconic looking bloody skin sagging skeleton monster. I'd expect to see this thing in an adult horror movie, but not on Nickelodeon. And I love it. This thing has lived in my head for like 20 years, and I won't be surprised if I remember this thing 20 years from now. And oh wait, is that Joanna Swisher? Any fans of the show Reba out there? No? Oh, okay. Alright, anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It truly means a lot. And until next time, peace.